You're listening to Video My Pod's Employer Brand Series. I'm David Macciocca, and joining me for this very special Singapore edition is the wonderful co-host, Emma Lang. We're sitting down with incredible people shaping employer brand across the region to have honest conversations about what's working, what's not, and where to next for employer brand and recruitment marketing. Where's it all heading? There's a lot to learn from this part of the world in Singapore. Let's get into it. Welcome to the Video My podcast, where we go deep in employer brand. That is the series that we're going to be talking about in this episode. I'm David Macciocca.
I'm Emma Lang.
And I'm Natasha.
And we are so excited to be talking today about how to stay agile in an ever-changing employer brand world.
Fun. Great topic, guys. Thanks for bringing me in today. I'm so excited.
Thanks.
And before we jump in, do you mind if you just share a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So my name's Natasha. I work at L'Oreal for the last 3.5 years. Before that, I was in a small little company called Grab, and I've been in employer branding for the last 13 years. Before employer branding was even a thing, it all started with just knowing how to do videos. That was what people thought employer branding was, but it's obviously so much more than that. So I think in the last few years, it's evolved so much, and I'm super excited to tell you what I kind of know, what my expertise are. So yeah. Excited to unpack it.
Yeah, nice.
Very excited. So let's jump right in.
Sure.
On that point, actually, you've mentioned it. So years ago, I think quite often employer branding, we had quite clear plans for the year, recruitment cycles, what we wanted to deliver. But I feel like that's changing in the world we're in right now with the talent, with external market conditions, with companies pivoting all the time and talking about agility. How are you and your team navigating this right now whilst managing it to make sure you deliver? So how are you still reporting against perhaps plans or showcasing the work that you are doing to your stakeholders?
Just before I jump into that, I have to give a little bit of context, right? So I lead the employer branding for the zone, and our zone is a really unique zone. I think it's one of a kind, and it's called SubMENA. So it's South Asia Pacific, Middle East, and North Africa. So I have everything from New Zealand all the way to Morocco, right? So you name it. I have Australia, I have the whole of Southeast Asia, India, Middle East, North Africa. Okay, so when we talk a lot about agility, this is where it's at, to be honest, in this part of the world. And I think we are crafted in a way whereby we have this concept in L'Oreal called freedom within the frame. And I love that about our company. So the frame provides us with, milestones, a certain agenda, certain objectives, and we are allowed to locally adapt to the nuances that we have. So I think that allows us also to have the flexibility to have, say, for example, a global EVP that is super clear, but also think a lot about our recruitment needs in our markets. Where are the gaps, and adjust accordingly, and have these kind of like beautiful local adaptations. And to give you a bit of insight as well, L'Oreal is a great marketing company. So we're learning from the best, to be honest. And of course, employer branding is a huge, an extension of that, because we obviously learn from, the best in the markets. And having that proximity, that they're even closer to the trends, they're closer to what people want, that agility that they can pivot and move into different social media platforms, et cetera. It's really exciting. So at employer branding, we're like, can we do some of that? And it's allowing us to really experiment in these times. So I think it's, even when we look at the beginning of the year, we say, okay, this is the plan, but no, it is going to change. The fact that we do have freedom within the frame, I think that allows us to really stay adaptive and moving as the times goes.
I love the context. That's great. You will have to answer Emma's question. You can't deflect all the time. No, I'm curious to know, are you reporting what's your reporting line? Are you in the talent acquisition function, or are you somewhere else?
Yeah, so I'm in the talent acquisition function, but I work really, really closely with our corporate affairs and engagement team. And I really work closely with our content lead there, as well as our media teams, etc. So, but reporting line, here, someone in the zone, and then I have a metrics to Paris office.
So 2 questions.
Sure.
What's the benefit of that strong alignment with those external teams outside of TA, marketing mostly? And then how do you go about nurturing
those relationships?
Great question. I think, to be honest, my biggest partners in crime is, of course, my corporate affairs and engagement team and my media team. They actually have a great pulse in terms of what's going on. I mean, even within our corporate affairs and engagement team, we have a crisis and issues director, and it's really good to just stay close to what's going on. And that allows me then to have the empowerment to say, okay, I'm going to make a call here. This campaign's not coming out, you know? I think having these external perspectives really helps shape what employer branding is all about. Having these really strong partners within the organization allows you also to scale up in terms of a lot of your tools that you use. You know, say for example, HR, I think the assumption is always, oh, okay, we just put a video out and post it on LinkedIn. Those days are gone. You have to be really smart with how you utilize the tools you already have in the organization and say, can I have a piece of that? And then, and we're constantly learning, because obviously the space of programmatic marketing, et cetera, is ever evolving. So it's good to kind of keep close with them, because you're kind of upskilling as you're going. It's just that you're the expert in people, but they're the expert in the tools and things like that.
Well, it's just a good example of how to stay agile in an ever-changing employer brand, because by nurturing those relationships, you've got your finger on the pulse.
Yeah.
And with your lens of employer brand, you can make a call what works and what doesn't. So that's really clever. I think that's a great practical tip.
Did you, because that's a dream position to have a great relationship with your comms teams and other stakeholders. And sometimes I know some internal employer brand teams can struggle with that. So did you find yourself having to, what did that journey look like to get super close with them? Or was it naturally already there and they were, did you have to spend a lot of time educating? How did you get there?
Smooth them, look.
Well,
That's what you have to do.
I have my ways. No, to be honest, I think it's really around finding a common objective and finding that common goal that we both strive to accomplish together as a team, and have, shared KPIs. I think also really helps us kind of deepen the agenda a little bit more. I feel because of that relationship, it's a lot easier to have conversations and a lot of these kind of win-win situations. I think that's where it makes it so much more exciting, and and there's room to experiment a lot, especially when you're outside of your ecosystem. I feel that also helps to give different perspectives, and then you can kind of bring that back in into the HR team, because they wouldn't know much about this sort of extension. But so I think having common goals is super important.
Nice. I have many other questions.
Go.
I will go.
Don't be afraid. I am a total open book today, everybody.
You talked through sometimes agility being easy because L'Oreal itself is quite a creative company. So you're surrounded by these marketeers who are on the trend, ahead of the trend, already planning what's next.
Yeah.
So how you can staying connected to them and learning from them. So employer branding is almost on that journey with them, because quite often I think the functions, consumer marketing, brand marketing can sometimes be more mature. But they've got the tools, the resources, the budgets, and because they're selling the products that creates the revenue. But obviously we're bringing in the people to do that. Yeah. So how are you kind of joining that journey with them and staying up to date with the latest trends or tools they're using? And maybe you've got an example of how you've unlocked that.
I think I'm super fortunate to be in a company like L'Oreal, first of all, right? They don't delineate between you're in HR or you're in digital, etc. All of us are upskilling together. So what I'm super fortunate about is the fact that even on the AI journey, the tech journey, the data journey, I feel like, everyone is first an employee. So we start with the bare basics of like, do we all know how to prompt? Do we all know how to use Createch? Do we all know how to use do we all know how to build the agent, etc. And I think just having this common language, these ways of working, it makes it easier to approach the likes of marketing and say, hey, like, I'm not too sure how to do this. And the fact that it becomes this sort of reality of how we work together, these conversations are again easier to have, because we're both learning at the same time. And you're right to say that, there are some platforms, there are some parts of marketing that are obviously a lot more mature, right? And I mean, we've been doing TikTok for years, right? We we were the biggest pioneer in TikTok labs in Indonesia last, I don't know how many years ago, but I remembered one day I was saying to myself, oh, can we do like TikTok, but selling jobs? And then they went, no. And I was like, but why not? But it's because it's just never been done.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying that, hey, why not do it? But having that like vulnerability to just be like, hey, I thought that was a good idea. I guess not. Okay, cool. and that kind of breaks a lot of this enigma of like, I'm better than you, I'm more mature than you. It's sort of this curiosity, I think, that keeps our whole organization alive. And I think that's kind of how we've been working together. But a lot of the times now, even for example, utilizing a product called Sprinkler. So we use Sprinkler to push out a lot of our publishing, etc. We bring them along the journey. We get them to come in. We get them to train us. It becomes like a tit for tat situation. And when they have new tech, they're like, oh, have you tried this out? I tried social listening the other day with Talkwalker for just to understand what people are saying about us online. Just things, and I never knew that was even possible. So I think just having these networks, having these conversations and saying, hey, look, I'm actually really interested in what you're doing. You've done amazing trend reports. I want to do a trend report for employer branding. Can you hook me up with your person? Okay, like this is we have an enterprise contract. You can slip in. Okay, so these are the things I think. If you want to be good at your job, you have to really know how to find ways to make it work, or to find ways for you to learn.
These unlocks, these partnerships that you're making everywhere. Nice.
Yeah.
Reporting into talent acquisition usually has a function where you're driving applications or you're impacting applications.
100%.
And I can imagine having such a strong brand like L'Oreal, in my Australian way of saying L'Oreal, not like your beautiful way of saying L'Oreal.
It's going to change in a bit, trust me.
I can imagine with that strong consumer brand that, well recognized, there's a perception of what it's like to work within the business.
Yeah.
And in a market like this, where there typically are more people on the market in the current climate that we're in, how do you stay active and busy, and how do you turn your attention to potentially something else, given that it is a little bit easier to get applications through these days than when the market is, more of a candidate-driven market?
So I think, we're again, B2C is a lot more, it's easier to market. People just understand it. When you say L'Oreal, people just get it.
Chic, female brand. Those are the things that run
exactly
around.
right. But we're not just a beauty company anymore. We're beauty tech, right? So I think going out there, having that really strong storytelling, I think really then unlocks a certain other demographic that could be interested in us. So now we're not just competing for people in our competitors, but we're also competing with the tech companies, for example, because we need to build the next tech product, personalization product that can help you find personalized beauty, for example. So I think that in that regard, applications, I wouldn't say that it's easy. I think at the end of the day, it's quality, again, quantity versus quality.
Sure.
So we're really, I think, again, L'Oreal is one of these places that to be honest, I'm sorry, I did not know that you had this competition before I joined. But when I came in, the channels is quite interesting. It's not just, the days of putting up a job and hoping the applications come in, or the good ones will come in, is gone. That I think that's not, I mean, of course, that's still a part of our employer branding metrics, because of course awareness is very, very important in consideration, etc. But
so then what are the other activities, not having to rely on job boards to generate applications that you find yourself doing in a market like this? And it plays on being more agile and nimble and turning your attention.
Yeah. So we've actually launched, I think it's 33, 35. Don't kill me if I don't know what the years of the number is, but we have this competition called Brandstorm, which is incredible because, and why do I say it's incredible? Number one, it's really around solving a business challenge. So it's a business case that's actually provided to the universities. You can come in as a team of 3 and solve the business case, etc. And you go through the full channel. You put in your application, you register for it, you get mentorship, you put in a pitch, you pitch to us, you win your national finals, which is obviously in Singapore and Malaysia and all that. And then you go to the semi-finals. So whoever wins the finals in the market goes to Paris and competes at a global level. And then the top 10 gets to pitch again to our
So you have to be a university student to apply?
I was considering that. I was just like, I still look like I can go to uni. No, not even. I wish. No, but it's why do I mention Brandstorm is because I've never seen a competition that like a hackathon and things like that. I feel like when you go in a hackathon back in the tech days, it's sort of like, you do and then you go. I have never seen an organization that fully nurtures and develop young talents the way I've seen L'Oréal has done it.
Is that a play to employ these people? It is.
No, absolutely. And I think that's our key differential between a lot of other companies is the fact that we do nurture them. We really create a lot of opportunities for them. Even the winners in this Brandstorm competition, if you go global winner, you actually get to build your product. I mean, that's like, and you spend time in Paris and you do an intrapreneurship, which is crazy. I've never seen a company like that before. So I can definitely hand to heart say that we're so innovative in the way that the different channels that we push out, going on campus is one thing, but going on campus and being memorable is another, the days of going to a career booth and you're just kind of like, and then you're just sending out pamphlets, gone, right? But when you come to a L'Oréal campus activation, you are able to feel our products, you're able to interact, you're able to play bingo, and that was not when I went to uni. It didn't look anything like that. But now the competition is super high in these in campus to go viral, and things like that. So I think we have to stay close to what's cool, what's trending, in order to bring them onto the journey.
Well, that just sounds like a fantastic candidate experience.
Yeah.
The engagement.
Yeah. And I think that's what, again, is a big difference. I think now a lot of employer branding, candidate experience, to be fair, is an extension of employer branding, right? And I think candidate experience is where a lot of people have not really spent a lot of time on. And
why do you think that is?
I think we've been for a long time just been looking at top of the funnel. We've always been looking at the bright lights. We've always been looking at, this is trending. I got a lot of engagement. But, I feel like candidate experience is really where the rubber hits the road, right? How you treat people is how you treat your employees. Very simply, we even looked at the candidate journey from the time they get off the lift, and then what is the experience? What are they going to see when they walk through the office before they even get to the room? What is the experience that they're going to have even at the reception? I mean, these are even just before they talk to the hiring manager, And then even that, from a hiring manager perspective, we actually do a training for all of our hiring managers. Before they meet anyone, we teach them what is our employee value proposition, what's our EVP, how do we recruit at L'Oréal, what are our processes, etc. So that when they meet the candidate, they know exactly how to present themselves. They even know where to walk the candidate, so that they can also do a bit of storytelling, on the walls. Like, this is our beauty tech section. Have you seen this? So yes. And
is this something that employer brand owns, or someone within the company that is accountable for the candidate experience, or is this an initiative from a recruiter to the hiring manager? Who owns that?
So our global team, they're amazing. They think 2-3 years ahead for everything. So how we're structured is that we have an employer branding person, so they run all the campaigns, etc. We actually have a dedicated candidate experience person. Nice. And this person looks at how we look at job descriptions. This person looks at how we engage, candidates from the get-go. How do we provide feedback on the platform, etc. So we really have embedded the candidate experience as a part of talent acquisition, so that we have this consistency, and having it sit in Paris as well allows us to have this sort of exemplary way of performing, and then we scale it across the markets. So everybody knows this is a L'Oréal way to recruit. This is how we provide feedback. This is what we talk about, etc.
Love that. You've got the golden thread running through it, but to your point, consistently.
Yeah,
So that experience, whether you're in Paris or Singapore, is very similar and on point.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
I'm genuinely excited about this one. If you work in talent acquisition or employer brand, you would have come across James Ellis. 4 books, over 15 years of experience, one of the most recognised employer brand authority voices in the world. On September 2nd, he's coming to Melbourne for the first time ever. He'll be talking about how to be choosable, how to be different in a market that's super competitive. If you're in TA or employer brand, or you're a CPO looking for differentiation, this is the most valuable afternoon that you'll have this year. Tickets are in sale now. Don't sleep on this.
It's so interesting you've gone beyond. I agree that the top of the funnel has been such a focus, and that experience part throughout of understand where else you can add impact, show your story, show your people.
Yeah.
Because that's going to, if they're also interviewing for 2, 3, 4 other jobs, that is their first window and touch point with you, what's going to stand out. But beyond that tech part, which I'd love to come back to see how you're bringing those stories to life, and then the hiring manager, it's the human experience part. So you're managing it through your tech and your processes, but also the human experience, which is also the last impression that people have when they walk away, right?
Yeah.
Really love that. Coffee time I had with Tash. And do you know what? She WhatsApped me afterwards to say thank you.
Yeah.
That can be so compelling and insightful, right?
It's memorable, right? And I think that's what we all want to hopefully achieve, is to be memorable.
Yes, yeah.
Well, we were just talking about this offline. It is really important if you have a product and you're a large company providing even a service, that you do treat your candidates like a customer.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And this is very critical for us, because that's actually how when the first video in the training is that, you're not only losing a candidate, but you're also losing a customer. So I think that helps the hiring manager sort of internalize, okay, my behavior is actually going to impact not just my reputation, the company's reputation, how we're going to do, because, and with the likes of social media today, they have one bad experience, it can go everywhere.
Has that ever been measured at L'Oréal?
What's that?
Giving that poor experience, what that cost could be?
Yeah, so we have a candidate survey that is done to every candidate that has met us, the ones that have accepted or rejected offers or anything, as long as the role is closed. So yes, a CX survey is something that we look really, really closely to. So just going back to your question around how is it structured and how come employer branding is an extension of us as well. So I take care of both employer branding and CX. And we can see consistency in terms of, I look at the CX survey every single month, and you can see the consistency on people that have been trained, providing better candidate experience.
Okay.
So we have seen we can see the correlation of that, right?
Okay.
People that have been trained actually people still have a good experience when they leave.
And is there any correlation to attrition or even reneging?
I don't think, because that again is post, bye, they're in.
Okay,
Their butts
they're
are
in.
on the table.
Yeah. You've knocked the golf
I'm
ball
just like,
in the
bye
hole.
guys. No, I wouldn't say that. Let me think about this question. So your question is really around, do you think...
Your answer's good, by the way. Excellent answer. I just wanted to go that step further because I was curious. I was like, everything I'm saying, you're going, yeah, I do that, and I da-da-da. And then I go, okay, well, I'll level up again. Da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah,
If you can
so
assign,
many things I do. Yeah.
if there's like an actual way to, there's a dollar value for every poor experience, it's worth X, or it could be, people are less likely to accept a job if there's a poor experience,
for sure.
and it's like, oh, there's like a
And
difference of
that's the
20%.
truth. Yeah, that is the truth of it all. Is that if they had a bad experience, they will not accept the job.
Yeah.
And what is frustrating is that by the time they decide not to accept the job, they're already 3 rounds in. We've invested, 30 days. we have to restart the whole search again. It's just not worth it to have a bad CX at all. You've taken the time to filter the right candidates. Your recruiter has taken the time to make sure that the candidate stays warm. In this market, it is difficult.
Yeah.
So in terms, even employer branding doesn't stop when the recruiter speaks, right? We have to build our talent communities. We're sending out messages.
Yeah.
We're giving them CV tips, etc. And we've done the hard yards. So it really just comes down to the hiring manager to give them a great experience, treat people how you want people to be treated. So, I mean, that to me is absolute basic. And I think a CX candidate experience is where it's at. People need to start investing time in it.
Staying agile doesn't mean you're taking shortcuts. It just means that you're putting in the work to create efficiencies. So for anyone who there's a bit of white space, they're like, oh, we could definitely improve our candidate experience. How do you think, is there a way to introduce some design thinking for
Absolutely.
the candidate experience?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, first of all, put yourself in their shoes, right? But also know what your advantages are in your organization. So when we were designing what is the ultimate candidate experience for us, again, within freedom, within the frame. So we knew what we needed to get done. We knew that there's a process for us to recruit. But when we step back and we say, okay, like how would the candidate feel coming into our office? And I think that's and how do we want them to feel? How do we want to feel as a candidate, right? Like not knowing anyone. I'm going to reception. I don't know how to scan my barcode. And, this is not fun, and you're already nervous. You're like 5 minutes late. You're messaging your recruiter. So I think you have to apply empathy in the whole process, right? You have to put yourself in the position of someone that's really nervous, that, that knows a lot about this job and is curious. And when you start putting yourself in that position, you start to think about, okay, how would they feel when they walk through these doors? How do we want them to feel when they walk through these doors? What do we want on our walls? What do we want on our big digital screens? Do we want, I'm very lucky in my career in L'Oréal that I'm able to travel, and I always test on the ground. I'm always testing. Like when I walk in, nobody knows who I am. I'm walking through this, I'm walking through the reception experience. Does the receptionist look at me? What is on the digital walls? One of the big aha moments for me was when I was in L'Oréal USA in New York, and on the walls, it was, and on the digital screen, it shows so much about employee engagement. And this is critical in employer branding, because obviously we have an internal and external narrative, right? Whatever happens internally can be pushed externally, etc. And what blew my mind was in the New York office, on the digital screens, they had, lunch hours. We have healthy, The next slide was, we have well-being days, The next slide was like, we got this for our employee survey. And as a candidate, and you're seeing these things, you already got your validation super quickly. I didn't even need to sell it in employer branding. I didn't need to say, hey guys, we're about well-being. Hey everyone, but the proof is in the pudding. When you go to an office and you see on the walls that they care about their employees, they give good lunches, that they provide a platform for them to speak up. So one of our things is really around, if you have a issue, you have a speak up platform. I mean, sitting there as a candidate, I was smiling. I mean, I wasn't a candidate at the time, but I thought, wow, like that already did it for the candidate to know exactly how they treat their employees, what they care about, etc., before even meeting the hiring manager. So I think these are the opportunities, again, to work with your internal comms, to have this really strong storytelling, and that is just digital screens. I have a very strong relationship with my facilities guy, because...
Of course you do.
Yeah. Everyone sounds like, yeah. My facilities guy, I'm walking through and I said, the rooms, I need a picture of this. I needed it to be gender balanced. I needed to have a product. I need you to tell a story as well.
because I need one. I'm all about employee stories.
Yeah.
Sure.
What's your story?
My story in
No, I didn't mean it.
The
To the facility manager.
no. Yeah,
It sounds like what I'm feeling, and maybe you're getting a sense of this as well, is that the candidate experience means a lot to you.
Yeah.
The employee brand clearly does as well, but you've really passionate about the candidate experience,
Yeah,
but
I
it
think
ties so
so.
closely with the employee brand.
Yeah. No, absolutely. We're one Glassdoor review away from being, it wasn't great, the ratings go down, and this is, everything is available externally. So you have to manage that, right? One of the things that we do in the organization as well is actually we look at, obviously we have partners, we work with Glassdoor, etc. And a part of my quarterly is I provide them with their candidate experience survey. So we really deep dive in terms of where the gaps are. And then we look at Glassdoor and we look at, what are even our internal employees saying. Because they're obviously posting it out on Glassdoor, etc. Then we work with the HRDs, then we work with the HRBPs, we work with the business partners, and we figure out a way to rebuild that brand again and that trust, etc. So I think there's all these opportunities actually in employer branding and candidate experience.
And is that that's a really great example of staying agile on a quarterly basis? You're really listening to the candidate voice around the reputation or their needs, or what are they asking, and perhaps where you're meeting it or not. How does that then inform perhaps your content that you're looking to create, whether that's employees telling the stories or the campaigns that you need to create?
Yeah.
Because it sounds like that's, again, a really agile, forward way of approaching it every quarter, which is brilliant. So if you could talk us through that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that obviously you know that now we do the quarterly CX deep dive, etc., and we just get the pulse on the ground, right? And I think we have a very clear employee value proposition, obviously from Global, and which we have proof points and resonate with it. But once in a while when we do find things that are obviously not going in the way we would like, these are some messages that we can kind of imbue into into a caption or into LinkedIn, etc., or even through our advocates actually. So we have a very, very robust advocacy program within our organization. They all love to be a part of it. We love them as well. And I think for us, it's really important to have these authentic voices on platforms. And allow them to sort of say, hey, it's not true. We are actually, and try to talk a lot about debunking myths.
Yes.
In that regard. So we do it in a little bit. We don't do it in like, hey, by the way, it's a little bit more finesse.
Yeah, but still addressing the reality and the experience of what it's like working there.
Yeah, for sure.
So what makes that, you said you've got a really brilliant advocacy program.
Yes.
What makes it sing for L'Oreal? What makes it work really well for you?
I think it's really around the employee lived experience, right? And we don't tell them what to write. We give them a theme. We say, let us know what do you think. We have certain pushes throughout the year, etc., that we need a little bit of a more collective action. But I think just us giving them the trust allows them to be the authentic voice that they need to be. And I feel like that's what sings it for us. I feel like we allow them to be who they are. We're also obviously mindful in terms of the diversity that we bring in terms of perspectives, etc. So it's a great group. We work really, really well together, hand in hand, actually. Yeah.
Something that's just swirling around
course,
in my mind.
just
I'll throw this out there.
Just throw them out. It's fine.
No worries. So L'Oreal has a consumer brand that's very strong.
Yes.
I'd say I sort of described it as beauty, but it could be more glamour. That sort of thing, glamour. But I'm assuming not everyone who works at L'Oreal is glamorous or beautiful every day. But they probably are. They're probably all beautiful.
The inside.
There's a lot of there's always this assumption that we're like the devil wears Prada. I feel like
misconceptions, right?
It really is, and it's not that at all.
So then on one hand, you've got your consumer brand, which is that beautiful looking imagery with
Yes.
products and people and that glamour look. But how do you strike the balance between the authentic people who work there and capturing their story and allowing the business to say, well, just because they studied or their hair's not perfect today doesn't mean I can't release that content?
Yeah. I think first we just take one step back, right? I think in L'Oreal it's not perfection that we're after. I think a lot of people think when you're in the beauty company, it's all around like it has to be perfect, your nails has to be done, your lipstick has to be on, da 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 da. I think one thing that first we have to acknowledge the first thing is that there are no visuals that are generated by AI. Like we literally made an AI framework and said there is absolutely no way we're going to ever generate humans through AI in any of the stuff that we sell. The fact that the company is standing by that imperfection, that uniqueness, the diversity of people, we really celebrate beauty at an individual basis. So everyone, we call it beauty for all, right? And we're in an organization that is really, it's not just around, self empowerment. It's not just really around, being socially accepted by what you put on your face, etc. But, I feel like the fact that an organization is so anchored that we're all unique and we all bring our own piece of beauty into an organization. This is why I feel like if you feel L'Oreal is a place that you have to be a certain look and feel, you won't thrive there. Absolutely not.
So
There is
your
this
beauty,
place.
your way. I love that. I love that. But how does that impact content that you're pushing out? And do you have the flexibility to show those imperfections to attract?
In content that I push out? Okay, that's a good question. So our global team has, again, a framework in terms of what editorials, etc., should look like. And the fact that they have room for local adaptations to show, what it could look like in Singapore, what it could look like in Australia, etc., gives us the flexibility to really show our own nuance. Now, does all our ads have to be polished, etc.? I think the end message is really as long as the message is clear, as long as the message is consistent in terms of what we drive and how an employee can thrive in our organization, that is really good. That is like thumbs up.
Well,
on
it
our
would,
side.
would help for any employer brand to have the flexibility to stretch their legs and be creative by showing authentic content without having to constantly get things approved.
No, yeah, that's
Because the consumer brand is overshadowing the employer brand.
Yeah. I mean, for example, any local adaptations that need to get through, we typically have guidelines already in place. Again, it allows us then from a local adaptation perspective to all also look similar in terms of scale and what is the L'Oreal Group brand and expectations. So the fact that we actually even have that is super cool already, because I know other organizations are like, nope, the global assets has to go. And I'm like, but he doesn't look like me. How would I want to, So I feel that it doesn't have to be perfect, but in our own way, it works. I think, so for example, TikTok testimonials,
It's a
right?
good example.
Easy to do, easy to shoot. As long as the message is consistent, run, right? And that flexibility allows you to be agile, allows you to move fast, allows you to, have this sort of intensity, because again, it's a different platform. It's a different kind of way of communicating, right? And the fact that, the global team can have their very editorial ad-like things. The fact that, for local adaptation, it's like TikTok, straight to the face with a mic holding with your hand. I think it's really cool. I think it allows you to celebrate this imperfection, to celebrate realness, to celebrate authenticity. I think we're already like happy that we have the opportunity to adapt locally.
We could keep talking and I could keep asking you questions, but if there's a final question, Emma.
Bit of a question, but also a reflection. What I'm hearing is that it's the framework that allows you to be this agile and creative in a local setting as well. So you have that global framework. They've allowed you to localize it and have that flex, and then you've built that out locally, which allows you to deliver what you're delivering at pace at L'Oreal, which is amazing. I guess one of my last questions would be, this sounds amazing. You have it all. So for the rest of us,
That's not a question.
how can we, if we want to scale it back for others that perhaps don't have those frameworks yet, what tips would you give to them of how can they approach proposing a local framework that still, to your point, is consistent and aligns to the global frameworks? Very important. How could they go about doing that and get into closer to a L'Oreal state of play?
I'd give them 3 advice. The first one is make friends today. Because I feel like in employer branding, most of the time you're alone. And it's a very lonely space. You're neither a marketing headcount or an HR headcount. You kind of sit in between. So when you go to meetings in HR, you're like what are you guys talking about? So I think build relationships first outside of your ecosystem. So try to find someone or try to find a tribe that makes sense to you. So my tribe in L'Oreal, for example, is my advocacy team. And this person doesn't even sit in HR; she sits in media. So media advocacy. So now I understand about influencers, etc. Employee engagement, big best friend, content, and this again are outside of my HR team. So just having this good understanding of where the pulse is from a trend perspective with the advocacy team, having a good understanding in terms of what global things would be a good content, because you have to have that resonance. And then from employee engagement, what can we do to mobilize our teams to actually get them to talk about us, etc. Having just different perspectives allow you first to have a full understanding of, okay, this is how we have shared goals. That is even before you start to build the frame. First, decide what you actually want to achieve before you start to build the frame. Second of all, get really strong sponsors. And what do I mean by sponsors? I mean, look at your global teams, have someone that can really mentor you through building a framework that makes sense for them, that makes sense for you, that makes sense for your team. And the third one, again, this is bottom up. Always pick a pilot. Don't go in with your guidelines like, guys, okay, this is how we're going to do it. Always test, please. Test on two different types of markets. One that's a little bit more mature, one that's a little bit more digital native, etc. And just kind of sound it out and say, guys, you're good, because they're the ones that are eventually going to do it. Yeah. So it's really important to find this sort of like ground up movement, so that when you do end up going out there and talking about the program or talking about the campaign, etc., at least you can bring someone and say, actually, best practice, by the way, they've done it. And then they can be your advocates within their ecosystem as well. So it's really these 3 points, find friends outside of your ecosystem for you to learn and develop, get global sponsor, and then test in the local markets.
Okay.
That's great advice and a great way to end the episode. I really appreciate your time and sharing your story.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, guys.
Thank you.